He's so funky. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Michael. And
Daniel.
From that Patron show. Hey everyone, welcome to TPS. Viewers, comments and questions live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello, welcome, happy Monday. It's nice to be
Monday.
back. We were absent last week because of internet issues. Which is really boring in 2023, isn't it?
Very boring.
Yeah.
The revolution will not be
On the internet. Yeah, who was that? Gil Scott Heron. He was right after all.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, how is everyone? Hope you are all wonderful. Let's see where everyone is checking in from, shall we?
How was your weekend, Daniel?
Let's see. We had an experience day on Friday.
We did.
Which was just wonderful. Some beautiful humans came in.
It's a great thing, isn't
It's a really great thing. I tend not to do a lot on the Saturday after an experience day.
Yeah, it's quite tiring.
It's a lot.
In a good way.
In a good way. Love it. So Saturday was pretty quiet. Yeah, the weekend was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, how was yours?
Yeah, really good. Same, really. It's always a good weekend when we do it. When we do an experience day. Thanks to any of you that came on Friday or anyone that's been before. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and see us. It's a really, really, really good day, and it's a little reminder that not all that happens in the world is bad.
No, it was so funny. Steve, one of the guys that came down on Friday, he rolled up into the car park. I was out with Rosie, and he winds down his window and he goes, "Welcome to that pedal show, Steve here." And I went, "Danny, hello." He goes, "Yeah!" It was so funny. That was great.
Yeah, they're good. They're good days. We say thank you to BV for moderating today, and and all the time, in fact, and sending me texts to let me know that we're probably done for super chats. Thanks, BV. So I'm going to turn the super chats off. We will get to every super chat today. If you've super chatted already, we will answer. If you haven't, then they are off, and that's why.
Indeed. So let's see who we've got on. Martin Jones, Springfield, Missouri, as opposed to Springfield in The Simpsons, which is somewhere else.
I would assume there are many Springfields in the US.
Many. Dan Bruckman, howdy from Athens, Georgia. And we've got Jamie Brown from Boise, Idaho. Oh, lovely. Bill Green from sunny Colorado. So all the our friends over that side of the pond are all checking in, which is lovely. Let's see. AB Music, greetings from Celle, I want to say Celle in Germany.
Yeah.
Celle. We've got Paul, the bearded one, is in Doncaster.
Oh yeah, subject of the one of the two Fender guitars that never got released when Leo was stationed in the UK during the war.
Is it serious?
And he designed the Doncaster and the Tadcaster. We ran that as an April Fool in Guitarist once.
Okay, that was very good.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Yeah.
Sean Briggs, Boston here. Hello, Adam D. Hello from Albuquerque. Daniel R. Hello, Leggins from Plymouth, Michigan. Jordan Killiard. Hi from a wet Exeter. It has been rather damp.
Yes. Wet stuff falling from the sky has occurred today.
Yes. Let's see.
Which is annoying because... at the risk of an entendre, we trimmed our box yesterday.
Good for you. That time of the year.
It's at this time of the year, in the UK at least, it's time to get the garden ready for winter.
Okay.
And that includes all kinds of middle-aged activity, such as hedge trimming, grass mowing, external furniture, packing away. Yeah. You know.
I do.
You know.
Sean Thomas, you're welcome, buddy. Thanks for checking in. Let's see. Eagle Ray Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, mate. Good to see you. Richard Pribanow. Good day from sunny Florida. Michael Davis says, love the new telly. Well, this is the old telly. This is Red, who's been with me for a very long time. I've had Red the longest, I think, of all my guitars here.
AK is on from Manitoba, home of our good friend Mr. Landreth, who will be coming to see us or Mr. Landreth's.
We need a daily countdown number on the back till Joey turns up.
Did we say hello from Joe Peasy Fashizi? Did we say hello to Joe Peasy Fashizi from Santa Rosa, California?
Lovely. Dean Scott, hello from Sydney, currently in the UK on holiday. Good man. Using your time on holiday to sit down and watch TPS.
It's a winning formula.
It is, bud.
Zoot Allure is on.
Hey, buddy.
Glad to see us back. Matthias Felipe Colombelli, greetings from Brazil.
Have you been to Brazil?
No.
I'd love to.
I've never been to South America at all, actually, and that is a terrible gap.
Okay.
Experientially speaking.
I wonder if we can do something in South America. We'll do TPS live from Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
That would be good.
It'd be really good.
Yeah. Stephen Hadfield is on, patiently waiting for his RV500.
Nice.
Yeah, so there'll be lots of spatial happenings in your gaff tonight, Stephen, hopefully. And hello from Marin County, California, says G Barge. Hello, G.
G'day, buddy.
I've been to Marin County. Okay, Tampa, Florida, Chris Costabile. Well, loads of people on. Thank you, as always, for joining us.
Amazing. Philo Smith, greetings from the Great Pacific Northwest. I mean, it must be great. It's called Great.
Yep.
It's great. It's in the title.
Yep. From Velo Smith, yeah. MIDI mad scientist. Alec Bourne. Saying hello to one another.
Nico Tsonev's on.
Yay,
well, hello.
Nico.
G'day, mates. Hope you're doing awesome.
Hopefully you also saw the show on Friday where Stephen Wilson and Nico Tsonev came in and, blew our minds, really.
Yeah.
With tales of a new escapade in musical adventure.
Indeed. And I went and saw Nico and Stephen live very shortly afterwards in somewhere in the middle of London.
Hackney, wasn't it?
That was Hackney.
I used to live in Hackney.
It's a challenge to get to from Swindon. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, there is a point. If you come from the west of England and you travel through London, travelling east, there is a point beyond which you should not go because it just takes forever to get back again. Not because it's not a nice place there, just because it's coming back. It's 7 hours once.
Yeah.
Coming back across London.
Well, I took Doug with me.
Right.
Because...
Oh, he must have been in a little heaven there.
Oh, it was really lovely.
I'm trying not to say prog, Nico, sorry.
No, it was really lovely. And we sat down. Nico, thank you, mate, organised a couple of guest passes for us. So we went in and sat down. And lo and behold, a gentleman comes and sits down beside, right next to me. And it's like, I know you. You're the guy off the telly. And it was...
Frank Skinner.
I don't know why I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But I've read his book and everything. And we have a lovely chat.
Banjolales?
Well, Banjolales came up.
Yeah.
But his son, who's a 10-year-old legend, plays in a heavy metal band. So it's only two of us. It's me and my best mate who's the drummer. I'm like, that's so cool. And he was asking me what pedals make what sounds and stuff. So it was really lovely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Andrew is asking, is Super Chat off? It is, Andrew. We're full up because we've got too many to answer. So we shall crack on with them now.
Indeed.
Anyway, just to finish that weekend thing off, Dan, I had a very analogue weekend.
Do tell me.
I didn't really touch my phone most of the weekend. We went out. Well, we saw friends Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night among human beings. And yesterday, doesn't matter what it was, I was party to an act of almost unimaginable human kindness. And it was like, you hang out with people on a Friday,
right,
having nice time with guitar. You spend time with humans doing nice things. You do a bit of lawn mowing and hedge cutting. And then you just realise that actually it's all right.
It is all okay.
It's all okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's obviously not all okay, but there's more okay than there is not okay.
Yeah. In our little corner of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And it was very nice, very analogue, and I shall be doing more of that. Andreas Johansson is first in this week. Andreas, thank you for your super chat. He says, Leg ends, I finally got myself a QMX10 last week, and I couldn't be happy. That was for our podcast listeners. Hello, podcast listeners.
Oh, that's brilliant.
He says, you are a wizard, Dan.
Oh, bless you, mate.
If you guys lost every piece of gear you own, what would you buy to start your rig with from scratch again?
Ooh. So this is a great question. I'm assuming we hang on to the guitars.
My barnet's out of control.
So's mine.
Every piece of gear you own.
Including guitars?
Looks like it.
Okay.
All right, let's say with and without then.
Okay.
So you've retained your guitars.
Retain my guitar.
What would you buy first?
First thing I buy is an amp. Probably the DC30.
Yep. Same for me. Two rock. Buy two rock.
Yeah.
Questionable whether that would be a vintage deluxe or a classic reverb signature, having not played the vintage deluxe yet.
Okay. I think as long as I've got that, I can then... It'd be the first thing. It wouldn't be the last thing. Yeah. It'd be the first thing.
Yeah.
And after that, then I'd just go absolutely...
What would be the first pedal?
Heavens. Probably... It'd be a gain stage. And to go and do one gig with that, I would say something like...
D&M drive.
It is something like a D&M drive. I think the D&M drive does sound rather spectacular into the matchless as well. If I had the DC30 and D&M drive, I reckon I could do everything I need to do with that. I think the telly with that is a pretty winning combination.
Yeah, I'd go two rock classic reverb signature, and I won't choose a D&M drive because it's our pedal. I would choose the Nordvang Gravity.
Oh, nice.
Which is what I've been using of late, and I like it a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Very good.
There you go. If guitars were all gone as well, I'd buy a Martin D28 or very similar.
Ed has said, I'm
Or a
surprised Dan
D18.
didn't say the Memory Man is the first pedal. No, that would be the second pedal. It would. Followed very closely by Mistress. Yeah.
Evan D. Bold or Diebold says, Hey D&M, I finally tried a wet dry rig this past week. I found a 1965 Bassman head being sold locally and paired it with my 2 Rock Studio signature.
Stop.
Tonal Bliss, thank you for the inspiration. Yeah, man, that's going to work.
You think?
Yeah. You just dipped your toe lightly into the wet dry waters.
How does one have a 1965 head come up just locally?
That's really serious, amp.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Nice one, Evan. Rodrigo Gaspari. Hi, Rodrigo. Nice to hear from you. He says, Leg ends. Is there any gear, pedals, amps and guitars from Brazil that you know and like?
So...
Carpe Diem?
The Carpe Diem.
From Fire Custom Shop.
Yeah. Love that thing.
Yeah.
We had it on the show again recently. I plugged it in. I saw the original at home and I thought I haven't played this for a while. Plugged it in, it's like, whoa, still awesome. Yeah, that thing's great. Apart from that though, I don't know a lot of stuff happening in Brazil.
Not off the top of my head. I'm sure there are lots of things. And I'm risking a terrible faux pas here, but from your South American neighbours, Argentina, I have just discovered an absolutely fantastic vibe. Thank you, BV, and the people at Sabadios.
Oh, Sabadios.
Yes, which I think is from Argentina, isn't it? God, I hope I haven't got that wrong.
No, let's say yes.
Yes.
Absolutely 100% from Argentina.
I think it's from Argentina. I think, and I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. Flipping heck, he sent us 3, a 68, 69, and another one. And I put the 68 on the board for the experience day on Friday.
Magic.
Vibe. It is really, really, really good. So I know it's not Brazil. Probably risking a bit of a England-Ireland faux pas there, but yes, South America. We'll do that. Morley Robertson. I'm building a bedroom wet dry rig with a Blackstar HD5 and a Blackheart Little Giant with a radial Big Shot ABY. Any thoughts on which should be dry and which should be wet? Thanks for all you do.
So, as a rule of thumb, whatever amp you keep the cleanest, whatever amp has the most headroom, is the amp that we would normally choose for the wet rig.
Yeah.
It's interesting that some amps are just so magic with pedals. Like I've been back using the Hamstead recently, and it's just such a great big open clean platform. And as far as the wet amp goes, you know, like the CXM into that thing is just a whole new world. But there are some amps, even amps that have, they say they've got a similar amount of headroom. As soon as you punch into them, they start to crunch up quite early on.
Yeah.
And they can be characterful. Like the Matchless doesn't have a huge amount of headroom in that area.
You can, I mean, with that telly, it's very hard to get it clean at all unless you pick softly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that sense, that the Matchless is the dry amp.
Yeah.
But when you hear that wet dry, it's just
the really
glorious.
good news is you'll probably have them stood next to each other, and you'll have two cables coming from your pedal board, so you can literally just swap the cables around and listen and decide which way you prefer it. And it really doesn't matter. You can literally just unplug them, do that, plug them in again, and hear them both ways. So yeah, try both and see what you think. My instinct says HT5 for wet, but that might not be the case.
Sure.
Yeah. Good luck. Hope you enjoy that. Chris Johnston. Hi, Chris.
Hello,
he
Chris.
says, I want to mix my clean signal into my modulated signal. I don't need the connectivity of the wetter box. Is there an easier and cheaper solution?
You want to mix your clean... Yeah, so just get... if you get the summing device from JHS, it's a little 2-into-1 mixer. That's the easiest thing to do.
The only problem is it doesn't have any mix control, does it? It's just a box.
So you have to control the volume of the things going into it.
Yeah.
But that's the easiest solution, right? It's a really simple 2 in, 1 out summing device. From there, remember the old Boss mini mixers?
Wow.
They're really cool.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, any mini mixer, but then you're getting into complexity and cost.
Yeah, so it's just the Boss is the simplest one, and then depending on the feature set that you want, it goes up from there.
Yeah.
So it's JHS, did I say? Yeah, JHS is the simplest one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because then it all just gets complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that LAN devices thing we've got, but that's really expensive and
it's a beautiful thing.
Rocking horse doo-doo.
Yeah. LAN devices stuff is, man, just gorgeous. But yeah, check out the JHS. It's the one with a little calculator on it. It's great.
Noise Bloom is saying Sabadius is in fact Argentina. That's what I said, wasn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Noise Bloom, for that.
How do we do a South American challenge?
Deep Trip apparently is Brazil, says Subo Prontes.
It's getting better.
So that's Josh Smith uses those, doesn't he?
The fuzz, the Deep Trip. Yeah.
Deep, Subo Prontes. And David Pekarski says the same thing. Yep. Yes, good. JHS summing amp, says Ingship. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Boss LS2 is still unmatched, combining 2 loops with the original signal. Yeah. Is that what you were talking about, the LS2?
No, I was talking about the old mini mixer,
which
is like a 4-into-1 thing.
Yeah.
The LS2 is great. There's a bunch of other functionality on that. It's a really, really great thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Luke Colombo says you should do a video where you make a track using each other's gear. Mick uses Dan's telly, pedals and amps. Thanks for everything, and vice versa. It's a great idea, Luke, and I'm sure most people would be interested. I'm going to say that if I've got enough time to record a track, I'm going to use my own gear at this point in my life, because the time for that sort of thing is running out. I am going to pick some recording gear up off a friend this week, Gareth. So expect folly into recording fun. I was going to say hell. I think fun might become a theme over the next few weeks. We'll see.
I've done a little bit of recording at home. My niece is putting on a production in Brisbane.
Oh, yeah, you sent it.
And she needed something that sounded like Barracuda. Right?
Yeah.
But they obviously couldn't get the clearance for Barracuda, and they needed it done really quick. And so she messaged me, goes, Uncle Dan, please help. I need about a minute of music that sounds like Barracuda. So I just went, okay. And yeah, it was really great. I grabbed the Bassman, the bass breaker, the little Fender.
Yeah.
Straight out into the ISO cab. I put on the drummer for whatever it is, the drummer in Logic.
Kyle.
Kyle's one of them. There's a bunch of them.
Dwayne.
I don't know Dwayne, but anyway, just got a minute loop of rock drums, and I just went right and I laid down a track called Angry Fish, and it was really good. It's what I liked about it though, as soon as you hear it, it's like it's really old school. Like it just, mic on speaker, sounded great. It took seconds to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Had the SG on one side, the Johnny Marr Jag on the other, and it's wicked. There you go.
Chris Johnston, he's saying that he doesn't want a summing device, he wants a blender. Chris, I'm going to go out there and say, at the moment you're probably using one amplifier. You've probably got some crappy old amp that you used to use. Or indeed not a crappy old amp. You might have another amp that you used to use. Split the signal and send the modulated down one and the clean signal down the other, and do wet dry. That is absolutely the best way to do it.
Give it a go.
Because if you're blending them and they hit one amp, you're still summing them, really. Now, it might be that you've got some control over that summing, but or at least the blend. If you're going into two separate amps, you've got it properly. You've got proper blend. And try that.
Yeah, give that a go. But, there are things like little mixers. Mario Uric has mentioned the Boss LS2, which is a great shout. Give that a go. Just the deeper the feature set that you want on being able to blend those things, the more you're looking for in that device. So, yeah. But if it is just a simple mixer, go onto Reverb and find an old Boss mini mixer. They're great.
Sarah Barrett, sorry. Sarah, I'm continuing the folly of contact lenses, and I've got the second lot. So we'll see. First lot didn't work. Second lot seemed to be better. And I can read here and I can see there. So far so good. And I can see my screen.
I just realised you don't have your glasses on. You've got your contacts on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Picked up some new ones on Saturday. They've changed the offering, as it were.
Okay. And they're okay?
Yeah, I can see this.
Right.
Just about. I can see that, and I can see my screen. So for things where I'm usually having to take them on and off the whole time.
How did you go with putting them in your eyeballs?
Oh, I don't mind that. Yeah, I've got no problem with all that.
No.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm good. That's why I've got glasses to
You don't
stop
like
myself from poking myself.
Yeah. No,
I'm
not squeamish about that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's fine. Good. Right. Sarah Barrett says, D&M, just a thank you for helping to reignite my passion for playing.
Oh.
Also going to see Stacey Brothers Steely Dan tribute in January. Buzzing. We'll see you there. I've yet to see it, and I'm desperate to go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see you there, Sarah, depending on which night you're there. Eagle Rave Rob, hello.
Hey,
Rob.
buddy.
He says, I've got a 70s Music Man D130 head, tube phase inverter and power solid state preamp.
That's what I had one of those.
This is a solid state. This is a high headroom clean machine. Nice amp for not too many bones. Was this Leo's ultimate loud clean tone? Big, loud, and big.
So I had one of those with it was a 2x10. And I used that for years in a band called The Wheelers in Australia. And it was me with that amp, Paul Wheeler from Icehouse on drums, and Mark Cuff from Spy vs. Spy on acoustic, on sax.
Bassoon.
Yeah, it was a brilliant 3-piece.
Yeah.
Tuba. And that was wicked.
Tuba.
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
And that amp
It's an old gag.
was just glorious. And I tried putting other speakers in it and stuff, but for that gig, man alive, it was such a beautiful sounding amplifier. Really clean. The preamp in that was really great, really responsive, but they did like having that the 100-watt power stage and the valve phase inverter. It just worked so beautifully with that.
I'm not sure I've ever played 100-watt. When I was first getting into playing in bands, the 65, I think it was, there was just like a 60-ish watter that was maybe a 2x10 or something. They were around and people had them. And the other guitarist in our band had one. I had two, in fact. He liked it. I didn't like it.
Okay.
But I've never played a big one. Yeah. It's also when Clapton was using it, it was my least favourite Clapton tone. So I think I've got a bit of motivated
interesting.
motivated cognition
okay.
on that. I'm associating the tone I didn't like from Clapton with the fact I don't like the amp, which might not be true.
As opposed to unmotivated ignition.
Well, no, as opposed to critical thinking, where I'd get one in and listen to it and make a decision. Airfire. Enjoy that, Rob. Be interesting to see what you think of it compared to your old 2-rock there.
Yeah.
Airfire. Ed, hello Ed. He says, Mick, did you sell the Collings 360 LT? We haven't seen either Collings on the show in ages, and a shout out to Lizzie at Gig Rig who helped me reduce shipping costs this morning, ready for my Ibanez SC10 and RE202 later this week.
Oh, wicked. Yeah, Lizzie's a good egg.
No, I didn't. I've got them both. 360 LT and the 290 DCS. One of them was out on the rack for the experience day, so I hope it hasn't been stolen. No, I think I put it away. No, I just haven't really been feeling those guitars of late.
It's interesting.
'Cause I'm so into the Strat.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
I'm so into my Strat and the gold top, to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry Dan, I cut across you.
No. Speaking of that, Todd Royce just said, "Great playing, Mick, on the Ainsley video. Loved it." So if you haven't seen it yet, there's a video floating around on the interweb. Mick guesting with Ainsley, and Mick pulls out this flippin' awesome solo. It sounds so good, and I must say you look rather dashing while doing it as well.
Thanks,
it's
mate.
really great.
Thanks, mate. Full house. Because I've had a very analog weekend. I've detached from Instagram again, and I don't do Facebook, and I try and stay off it because it genuinely does upset me. So that's a conversation for another day. But so I wasn't aware of the video. Dan sent it to me via text message, and I normally, through dysfunctional ego, shy away from things like that because I always feel bad about it. But I watched it. I was like, actually, that's pretty good.
It's really good.
I don't know about the playing, but the sound, the Strat and the 2-rock, I'm like, oh my god, that sounds like how I want to sound. So I was pretty pleased. And then of course Ains kicks in, and then it gets really good. But
I mean, you're not going to see it, but
you might want to, if you hold it near the mic. Hold it near the mic.
built-in vibe. Then Ainsley comes in. Yeah, man, that's really cool.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. It was all right. Yeah. All the licks you hear on the show actually in context of an actual song. I do, in that song, I do sneak in a bit of All Along the Watchtower.
Yeah,
as well,
I heard that.
because it's the chords are.
Yeah, man.
So they're similar chords, yeah.
I know.
Honestly,
I know.
I've done numerous gigs with it now, quite a few gigs, and the 2-rock has just been hammered. It gets hammered in here on experience days, and I think
Starting to
it's
open
just
up.
been played
Yeah.
into like almost old amp condition.
Yeah. Bill Green says, hats off to Natasha on the vids. Yeah, she's done
Yeah.
a really good job.
Thank you,
really,
Natasha.
Really good.
Thanks for doing that. Anyway, yeah, it's a great privilege to play with Ains, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again. The generosity of the guy to say, yeah, share my stage and go and wig out, like a massive poser is remarkably generous of him, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
That's awesome.
And it's a nice vibe, and they're lovely guys. So thank you, Ains.
That's
and
brilliant.
yeah, please go and see Ains live. He's flipping brilliant.
Yeah, he is.
So yeah, Ed, maybe we'll get the Collings out again recently. Again, the 360 is a really interesting guitar. I am going to put a Bigsby on it. I've got one sat out there in the cupboard, which will for
the white
sure.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Interesting.
I like the 360 with the Bigsby's on. I think it looks right. I don't think it'll work very well, but it just looks great. And maybe that'll encourage me to play it a bit more. The 290 is such a great guitar. It's a fantastic guitar, but every time I play it next to Dan 61 Junior, it's like it's not quite there.
It's a different thing though.
Stays in tune better.
It does stay in tune better.
And it's probably more usable in that respect, but just the sound of his 61 Junior is remarkable. I think, who was it? It might have been Steve. It might have been... Oh, no, it wasn't.
That was Dan.
It was Dan. So among Friday's Experience Day, there's a lovely guy called Dan who incidentally plays live with the stand-up comedian...
Nita Conti.
Well done. Nina Conti.
Nina Conti.
Who does the thing with the ventriloquism thing, and he does like live improv with her, which is pretty amazing from a musician point of view. Anyway, we're in here doing all the stuff, and I said, Dan, I think he wanted to play Dan's Matchless or something. I said, right, just before you finish, you've got to play this guitar. And his response was a 2-word phrase commonly used. He hammered out one chord and he was like, get out of town. And everyone in the room was similarly affected. It is a remarkable guitar.
Yeah. It's one.
Anyway, so maybe more soon, Ed. Anyway, and Ed says it's been a guitar-focused week with tickets to see Cardinal Black on Wednesday booked and the Brothers Landreth in December.
Oh, amazing.
And then an affected Strap. Oh, thank you, mate. That's kind. Please get the Collings Jr. back on the show. Yeah, I will.
I'm trying to... I'd love to go and see Cardinal Black on Wednesday.
Well, Chris's dad died.
I do.
And he's
sent a message of love to
our
him.
massive condolences to you, Chris,
Yeah.
for that. They've organised a charity gig in his honour.
Oh, lovely.
So it's probably sold out already, but yeah, Cardinal Black are going to be playing a show in honour of Chris's dad, who recently died. So yeah, if you can get along to that, please do. I'm going to try and get down there.
This week?
I don't know when the gig is. I need to.
Okay. Well, let's try and go.
Yeah,
It'd be lovely to get down there and see humans.
Yeah. Swears871 says, hope you're well, Legends. Mick, any thoughts on the new Mike McCready Strat? And Dan, are there any plans for any Aussie meet and greets while you're there? He says this summer. I just can't get my head around the fact this summer.
So, funnily enough, I had a phone call with Matt at Pedal Empire last night. So it looks like, and I'll tell you the date, it looks like Thursday the 21st of December that I'll be doing a meet and greet at Pedal Empire in Brisbane. And we'll do like a on-stage interview, and I'll make some noises and stuff. And then I think they're going to bring the barbecue out, and we'll get some snags on the barbie, a couple of beers. That'd be great. But yeah, so if you're in Brisbane, and we will confirm later, but it'll be the 21st. So the way we're thinking about doing it is there'll be 2 parts to it. The first will be ticketed because where the interview will take place is not huge. But then after that, it will just all have a hang and get together and it'd be lovely. So anyway, if you want to come and hang out and say hi and you're in Brisbane, it would be great to see you.
Nice. Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah, it'd be really fun.
Obviously, YouTube's just signed me out, which is really brilliant. What do I think of the Mike McCready Strat Swizz 871? It looks great. So what they've done, for those of you who don't know, Mike McCready of Pearl Jam fame. Oh man, that is I've been reading this great book, Thinking Fast and Slow, which is not a new book, it's an old book and it's very popular. Talks about cognitive stress, right? When your system one brain is trying to do two things at once and communicate with your system two. And you go into cognitive stress, and the features of cognitive stress are your pupils dilate, pulse raises a little bit, etc., etc. I'm trying to type in a password while talking to you. Not going to happen.
Well, this is interesting. Todd Roy says, I saw Jason Newsted in an interview and he has the D&M drive on his board.
Get out of town.
He plays mostly guitar now after Metallica. That's amazing. Wow.
Get out of town. This clearly isn't working. What do I think? It's great. It's based on, for a while it was thought it was a 59, but when they took it to bits, they found out it was a 60, I think, is the story. Slim neck, as they did in 60. I played quite a few 60s, and it seems to be the case. Very heavily relicked or road worn, because it's in the road worn series, I think. Given its price, it's about 1,700 quid, 1,600 quid. Looks great. Just a beat up sunburst early 60s Strat. It would be great. I'd like to see one up close, because some of the road worn aging is a little bit
Friday afternoon.
Well, I mean, it's, what can you do for 1,600 quid and make profit on it?
Yeah.
If you're a corporation.
Sure.
Not much.
It's got to go through 17 different sets of hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it has all the measurings of a really good fun Strat. Yeah. Too aged for me. It's too much for me, but there are people who like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's signed me in.
Hey, Griff says, yeah, Dan, have a few prawns on the barbie. Yes, indeed. It's not shrimp. It's prawns.
You call them prawns in Australia, do you?
Yeah. When that thing came out with Paul Hogan and he said, we'll put another shrimp on the barbie, no one in Australia had any idea what he was talking about.
So they're called shrimp in the US, right?
They are.
Yeah. As we know from our dear friend Forrest Gump. And what was his name? Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That ended well. Sorry, where were we? Yeah, so looks really cool. Be nice to try one and play one. I will say about Mike McCready, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. So 10 by Pearl Jam came out in 91, I think, which would have put me at about 17 years old, 16, something like that. And it was absolutely instrumental. Him, Frusciante, or Frusciante from the Chili's, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, that little unsuspecting triangle, sent me straight to Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
But predominantly Frusciante and Mike McCready, because there was so much Hendrix and McCready's playing with all that fuzz and the vibe and the wah-wah and everything. And there was a tremendous amount of it in Frusciante's playing too. And of course, both Strat players, multiple amps in McCready's case, but quite often a Marshall in Frusciante's case. And so hugely important. I've never met him and I'd really like to one day.
Moon has just posted, I wonder if many Australians went to see the new Barbie movie and expected something completely different. Well played, sir.
That's very funny.
Well played, sir.
That's properly funny. Turning up with their flipping cut-off shirts and their tinnies. Jeez, mate, this is not what I expected at all.
That's really good. Really good.
Oh, excellent. Matt McGrath, hello Matt. He says, leg ends. Any experience with the Strymon Brig? Yet. Every time I step away from them and try a different company, I always find myself coming back. What's the Brig?
Okay, so the
Oh,
Brigadier.
the Brigadier. Yeah.
So the Brig is the smaller one. and it's a smaller version of this.
Oh, I see. That's the new thing they brought out. Is it the Brig?
Yes.
Because they brought out a load of small stuff.
There you go.
3205 chips, is it? Really? No. Oh, I see. Modelled.
Yes, exactly.
Now,
I love the Brigadier. I think it's great. The Brigadier and the Dig, or the Didge, or whatever they were calling it, were, to me, like, every bit as good as the LCAP at doing different things. So the Brigadier was really good at getting close to those Memory Man sounds. The Didge was great at like the 12-bit digital delays. They're really like beautifully designed. And I used the Brigadier in the studio once.
So what's it supposed to be? A Memory Man?
It's like an analog. It's got...
Digilog?
Yeah. It's an analog delay modeler, basically.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But it does sound really good.
Yeah.
Like, if you think of all the work that they put in on the LCAP to get that sound, they've done the same with that.
It's interesting what you say, Matt, about how certain companies have maybe a sound or a vibe that you keep coming back to. I think that's true.
Totally.
I think I can hear it in Strymon stuff. It's I'd characterise it as a fidelity.
Sure.
Some people say it sounds, you could use pejorative terms if you don't like it, or you could use positive terms if you do like it. And I would say it is a fidelity. I really hear it in the Volante.
Yes.
Because you're not expecting it. Like when I plug in a timeline, I'm like, yeah, absolutely not for me. But that, when you're expecting to hear a tape or a drum echo, but you hear all the characteristics of those sounds, but with this fidelity. Not so long ago, it'd be something I'd be like, not for me. Get it live, and it's like, okay.
It makes complete sense.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And maybe even in a recording where you just get that little bit of extra fidelity to sit out and stand out a bit more. So yeah, I think certain brands do that. Free the Tone is the one for me. Every Free the Tone thing I plug in, I'm like, yeah. It's something about the way Yuki voices things. It's just like,
yeah, totally. There's, I guess, all of those designers. It's like when you pick up a guitar and you plug it into any amplifier, there's a sound in your head that works, right? And you dial that in. The designers are the same thing when they're designing a pedal. There's a sound that they've got. I love Dan Coggan's designs. Everything I've played of his is like, oh, this is lovely.
Yeah.
And there's a sound that he's got that he hears that he wants to get close to.
That comes out.
Yeah.
No, it would be good to try some of that smaller Strymon stuff. Incidentally, Dan was talking about Memory Mans and someone else was talking about Memory Mans. In the video on Friday, that we've got 4 sort of random pedals, and we're just asking simple questions about those pedals. And one is the Electro Harmonix Memory Man Mini or Nano.
Nemini.
Does it sound like Dan's Deluxe Memory Man? So maybe that's something that we could try with the Strymon. How far apart are they?
Sure.
If indeed that's even a relevant question, but I think it's the question you start with.
Yeah.
G Barge, hello G.
Today, bud.
Fearless leaders. God help us all if we're in charge of anything, G, is all I would say about that. Yeah. If you need to follow anyone, don't make it me and Dan. Only trouble lies that way.
Yeah, massive credit card bills.
He says, great to have you back. Growing up on the farm, I used to sing and make up songs to stay awake driving tractors.
Oh, wow.
12,000 RPM, drove a rhythm. I reckon that's 1,200, isn't it? Anyway, drove a rhythm. Today, it's walking a retriever. Where do you best write songs? I best write songs in about 2004.
I think I've always really enjoyed writing songs, but you've got to be, like for me personally, I've got to be in a place where I've got space to write a song. in my head as much as anything. I need to be so we've got this new project happening with Mark and Doug and myself and Paul Stacey, and everyone's lives are really busy, but when we get into a room and start making music and it's really fun, then everything else sort of goes away and you can just be in that moment for a couple of hours and stuff will come out. So yeah, I've got to be either in a place where I've got enough space where I can just sit down and explore an idea, or with a bunch of friends all exploring an idea together.
Yeah, that's a very unique experience, that, isn't it? If you can make it happen
In a group.
and you go with it.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm with you, G. Usually out walking the dog and I'll sing melody into my phone, and then you've just got to have the guts to finish it, and that's where I always fall down. Funnily enough, being as lucky as Dan and I to get to hang out with people like Johnny Marr and Stephen Wilson and Noel Gallagher and whoever else it is we've been hanging around with lately, which has been, a crazy few months. You get a glimpse into the courage that they have,
Yeah.
which is an idea comes and they've got the conviction and the courage to finish it.
Yeah.
So
Hang it all out there.
it might be that something comes in and this is what I do all the time, a melody comes in and it's actually pretty good, but you immediately talk yourself out of it because you're like, oh no, it's a bit like whatever. But actually, by the time you've got it in, you've worked it up, you've done some stuff on it, and you've taken that inspiration and run with it, it ends up being very different anyway. So I'm doing my best to have the courage to work it through.
Have you seen do you watch South Park?
I haven't done for a long
Okay.
time, but yeah.
So
But yes, I used to watch it a lot.
Randy Marsh, he was Lord,
Yeah.
and I'll have to show it to you. I'm gonna see if I can find the clip and I'll post it in the
Do
comments.
they still make it? Really?
Oh man, and the new shows are
And
just...
is it still good?
Oh my word.
No way.
Those
God,
boys are on fire.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that? Nearly 20 years? 15 years?
And the rest, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
To be consistently funny for that long. Man, that is amazing. Oh God! And apparently, there's loads of videos of me and Ains.
Yeah. No, I've found it.
Oh God! There was actually one of them was I did make quite a howling mistake, but there we are. That's what we always do, isn't it? Focus on our mistakes instead of the good bits. Thanks, BV, for putting those videos out there.
Okay, I'm going to I hope no one minds, but I'm going to put a link to this because it is so flippin' funny.
Dean Jackson says, is there a Johnny Marr episode coming? Yes, there is. It'll be the 20th of October. We had a great day with Johnny, and it was enlightening in many, many ways. So, yeah, look out for that on the 20th of October.
Oh, man. Let's see if I can make magic happen.
Super Eventide says, wonder if TC Electronic will make a pedal version of the 2290 that will match the sound of the original. Well, if they do, I would buy it. To be fair, the Free the Tone, Future Factory and Flight Time are not a million miles off.
Yeah. I've been playing around with the new SDE 3000 on the weekend from Boss. And that's in that same ballpark as well.
Did you work out if the EVH is the same as the standard
The
one?
EVH is different. The EVH has a dry out for the center.
Oh, okay.
So they both have two SDE 3000s in them, but the EVH is a bunch of his presets in there, and it gives you that 3 amp output thing, the way that he used to have them running.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh my God, you've got apparently Purple Rain's out there as well, says George Skelly. I was playing my 335 on Purple Rain. Interestingly, Ains plays in E flat, so when he plays Purple Rain, he plays all the wrong chords. because he's in E flat, but it's in the right key.
For you, when you play it.
It's in the record key.
Okay.
So what that means is I can play the Wendy chords in a guitar that's tuned to concert. And interestingly enough, right, so that should be some sort of chorus. I only had space for one modulation on my board, and I used a rotary speaker.
Okay.
Just really slow, and it sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet.
Actually, someone was asking what was on the board. I think, let's see.
Ed says, I won't be shy about it. When I watched the video of you playing Purple Rain with Ains earlier this afternoon, I cried. It wasn't that bad, Ed.
Oh, it wasn't that bad, Ed. Come on, mate. I wonder if the backing vocals came across. Me and Jono did a nice 2-part harmony. So, yeah. I always get stuck as well, right? Because it's in B flat.
Right.
And it's predominantly B flat.
But he's playing
major,
B
right?
shapes.
Well,
because he tunes to E flat.
No, forget that for a sec. I'm in B flat because I've got a guitar tuned properly, right?
Right.
And then the solo's all in B flat major pentatonic, right?
Yeah.
I just cannot get my head around the shapes for B flat major because I never ever play in B flat major.
Okay.
Because it's. And then I keep thinking I'm in G. And then I mess it up every time, so it's quite bad. And then eventually when you mess up and it comes around to resolve, you give it the old... Which, to be fair, Prince does as well, so I think he had the same problem. Yeah. That's what happens if you would play at the gig.
That's why I don't get invited anywhere.
It'd be flipping.
You can sit home.
You'd be like, this is what it
We're
would be
in
like
B flat.
if
We're in
it was
B flat.
the Phrygian mode. Anyway, thanks for all the nice comments coming in. Elliot Green says, good evening, guys. Mick, you sounded incredible in the Ainsley gigs, who also sounded great. Yes, he did, and he flipping does. Would you mind sharing what was on your pedal board, please? Very nice playing. Thank you, Elliot. Yeah, on my pedal board was a Dan Drive Austin blender, which I use in two ways. One with the blend all the way essentially off, and it's a fantastic boost. As is the Mythos Argo, which is what I normally use, but I wanted to hear the Dan Drive because I hadn't heard it properly at volume. So, and then for one of the other songs, I use it with the octave up just a little bit, the slow song, Cast a Light. Overdrive is the Nordvang Gravity, and I use both sides of that. Use the TS10 side for more overdrive and the Klon side for more boost, and I run the Dan Drive into the TS10 into the Klon, and in one of those solos they're all on, obviously. Delay was the Andy Timmons Halo, which I just cannot work out how the hell it works, so I just change all the knobs and then set it manually. And then the vent, mini vent, the Leslie type one, not the Fender one. That's that.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, very small, simple, just because I'm only playing 3 songs. So,
yeah.
Well, and Purple Rain, but yeah. So that was what it was earlier. I'm a real massive fan of that Nordvang Gravity.
It's cool. Very
it's
cool.
a really
thing.
great thing. But on the experience day, we had my Klon next to it, and Klon just sounds magic. It really does sound magic.
Yeah, that is the one.
Yeah, and we don't have anything else that really sounds like it. Although you might disagree with the video that's coming up soon.
Nah.
Woolly Fox, greetings D&M. New guitar day. Got myself a G&L custom shop Espada in green on Saturday. The guitar has active and passive pickup options. So what should I be aware of when using with my pedal boards? Also, have you used any Mastro Valvola pedals? The off one is epic. Mastro Valvola, are they Italian? I think they might be. Don't know. Right, active pickups then. So with passive pickups, don't worry about anything. Everything's groovy in the garden. Active pickups.
So active pickups means that the preamp is situated basically in the guitar, and it will drive any capacitance from the cable. It will give you a very low output impedance directly from the guitar. If you like the sound of the pickups, then you're fine. What you will struggle with, though, is things like germanium fuzzers, anything that has a lower than normal input impedance. Because if you think of a fuzz, take a fuzz face, for example, and it's got a super low input impedance, let's say 15K, you hit that with a 100 ohm output impedance, and it's going to be so bright. Don't worry about what the input impedance is, but think about it like this. If you've got let's say you've got a 15K input impedance, and a normal guitar, let's say 20K output, or whatever that is, lower from vintage thing, and that's hitting the fuzz. The fuzz is then designed to sound awesome with that relationship back to the guitar, that input impedance. As soon as you drive that differently, you put a buffer in front of it, or indeed, the buffer at the guitar, it's going to fundamentally change the sound of it. So the main place you will struggle is if you use vintage style fuzzers, but you can also struggle if you're using overdrives that have lower input impedances. And there's a handful things that clean up, like my Eternity, for example. I've got that back on the board now, and it sounds absolutely glorious, and it cleans up beautifully. It's got a lower than normal input impedance, and that's a lot of that formula. And I put a buffer in front of it; it just sounds a bit flat. The whole design of that thing is like a vaguely a tube screamer with the buffers taken out, so it relies on that relationship with the guitar. You put that into active pickups, and it changes things. So for me, I've heard people play with active pickups and sound fantastic. It's not a sound that I generally enjoy. I like to have a bit of that relationship, that impedance relationship from the guitar to the first stage.
Yes.
God, that was really dull and boring. And
no,
nerdy.
It's not. But it is dull and boring, isn't it? Because it's so complex once you get into it. Sorry, I was trying to sort out a problem and I wasn't fully listening. Did you talk about fuzz?
I did.
Yeah, cool. Just won't work with a fuzz face. So it's a no from me. But there are some epic high gain sounds to be had from actives, and there are some epic clean sounds to be had from actives.
Totally.
Some of the articulation and the sort of fidelity of it, almost sort of bordering on a direct kind of tone.
Yeah.
With the most wonderful high end response, and so certainly, just not for me or he, but have been used in many wonderfully musical situations. I think Leo was a big fan. Leo Fender, this is obviously was G&L. He was a big fan of moving all of that stuff along, wasn't he? And the Espada, I think, was his last guitar design, or one of his last guitar designs. There's some that are passive and some that are active, but it sounds like you've got the active one. Because the Stingray bass famously had active tone controls, didn't it? Mm-hmm. At some point, and that was a big deal.
Big part of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But you listen to the bass tones that the Stingray's on, and you can hear them a mile out, and it's got that clacky top end in it.
Yeah.
You go and listen to those old P-bass funk recordings, and it's a whole other world. But
So, and as for Mastro Valvola, I do believe we've been sent some. Yes, I recognise that logo. Yeah, I think we've been sent some, so we'll get round to that in due course. Ramalama Ding Dong. Ramalama Ding Dong says, "Good morning from California. Knowing your love of Vox amps, Dan, do you have a recommendation or favourite EL84 brand for, say, an AC15, one that retains chime but doesn't fall apart easily?"
Yeah, Vox. The standard Vox AC15, the new one.
No, valves. What valves?
Oh, what valves? Oh, sorry, I thought you brand. Okay. It depends on the amplifier. So, if it's a new amplifier, you want new valves. The new amplifiers are designed to work with the new valves. If you've got an old amplifier, you want to try, like my 61's got a set of Mullards, old EL84 Mullards in there, and a GZ34 rectifier. The cathode resistor in those old amplifiers were designed with old valves in mind. But the new amplifiers, let's see, I've always had good results with the JJs, EL84s, and what's the other brand I'm thinking of?
Did you say JJ's?
Yep.
Oh, I know. I know exactly what you mean. Oh, how annoying.
I've got them in my yellow jackets.
Yes. I'll tell you. Well, JJ's are the ones I always go for.
Yeah.
Teslas.
Yeah. If if it's a new amplifier, and you put JJ's in there, they'll be great.
Yeah, it depends where you are in the world as well. So what have we got? JJ's, Sovtex, Harmers, which is Watford Valves' brand, I think. Ruby Tubes.
Yeah.
Groove Tubes, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Tungsol ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's just a rebrand, though.
It's just a rebrand, but they're good. But Gordon Rankin's come in and says JJ makes the best EL84. Yep, always had really good experience with JJ. So that's what I would.
I've just bought those because everyone said buy JJ.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All I would say is if you have an old amplifier, check the cathode bias resistor. Like I was going through valves like crazy with the 61, and because it had a cathode bias resistor that was designed for those old valves that could take it. I think it was 50 ohms, and I put that up to 80 ohms, and then it sounded great, and all the new valves worked fine in it. Actually put a switch in it so that I could use my old valves when I wanted to. It's great.
Good. Lots of opinion coming in on valves in the chat, so do have a read of that as well. Might be some good info there. Matt Taylor. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
I met Matt at the Southampton Ainsley gig. It's nice to hear from you, Matt. He says, "Hey, DNM, I'm a newbie at Super Chat. Just a hello from a drummer that met Mick in Southampton and loves the show. Have a bevy on me."
Oh, lovely. Thank you, bud.
That's very kind of you. I think there was some additional words from you as well, which Bev has sent me. First time chatting. Love the show and your input. I'm told it is massive, he says, to BV. So big thanks to BV. It was nice to meet you, Matt. Matt works, I think, at Graham Russell Drums. I think I'm right in saying.
Cool.
Met a few people that worked at Graham Russell Drums, including the drummer who played in the first band. Oh, God, now this is bad. The guy's name was Lawrence, and I forget his second name.
Arabia?
That was him. It wasn't Lawrence Jones. It was a different Lawrence. He was a flipping monster player.
Wow.
Absolutely monster player. So hello, Lawrence, if you're watching this. Saw Joey at Crossroads, says Jamie Brown. Joey did actually send us a text kind of checking himself that he was actually there.
How amazing. I'm so pleased for him.
was one of my favourites of the weekend. Makes me wonder why he hasn't made a bigger impact commercially. He says, is it not possible now or is it too late? Well, Joey's still in his 30s, so I don't think it's too late. I don't think it's ever been his desire to do that. It is very interesting how that works. You know, in order to make a big impact, maybe 1 in a million people get discovered, and I don't know, pick a ratio that works for you. A very, very small percentage of people get discovered and get catapulted. The vast, vast majority of people who are successful on a big level have engineered it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a pejorative way. I mean it in a kind of, this is what I'm going to achieve. And they have an organisation around them and a management team and a body of work and a desire to be that. I want to speak on behalf of Joey, but Dan and I are pretty good friends with him, and he has never wanted that.
No.
Not even a little bit. And any time it's looked like, he turns left.
Yeah.
In the same way
so much respect for him for doing that.
A lot of other artists have done down the years.
Yeah.
And it's just not been on his radar. When we first met him, I've said the same thing. Like when I first heard Let It Lie, that record, I was like, man, this guy should be primetime radio all day, every day.
I remember listening to that going, he must be deformed, horrifically ugly or something, because how have I not heard this up to now?
How could he have talent?
Yeah, and how could he have that much talent and these amazing songs and play so beautifully and sing like that? I thought, he must have
got to be some problem.
There's got to be some massive problem.
Yeah, that stopped him from.
And then I see him as like, he's really gorgeous. It's like, and so it didn't make sense to me for a really long time.
No.
I would put Joey on stage with any musician in the world.
He is undoubtedly one of the best singers in the world.
Yeah, totally.
He is clearly one of the best guitar players in the world. If indeed we wish to use these terms, which aren't particularly helpful, but you know, you could stick him on stage with anyone.
Anyone. Yep. And he'd be, I got this.
And he would be
amazing.
All over it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I did have the same question. Having known him a bit and knowing what drives him creatively, it starts to make a bit more sense. That said, Brothers Landreth have managed to get a bit more mainstream success thanks to Bonnie Raitt. There was a Grammy Award nomination she did a cover of Made Up Mind, which brought some more recognition their way.
Can I let you in a little secret?
Yeah.
I love the Bonnie Raitt version. I so much prefer the original version.
Oh yeah. We would, wouldn't we?
Well, I guess we would, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you got to see him, Jamie. And if you get a chance to go and see Joey and the Brothers, or when he's doing his solo thing, or when he's doing the Lowell George thing, it's a real treat.
Yeah,
it's a real treat.
He's really, everything he does is completely in service of the music, and he has such integrity in that, and the big thing for him is not deviating from that. That's where his passion is, and it sort of really is a calling. And also, that's not to say that he doesn't welcome or isn't open to that level of success. So one thing that I'd never forget is going to see him do a solo gig in London.
Yeah.
And the crowd was there, and we were just absolutely transfixed. And then, like, between songs, he was hilarious. He'd play these tunes and everyone was just melting. Then he'd switch that part of his brain into, now I'm organised. He'd go and he'd sell the merch. Do the merch. And then everything was written down and itemised and stuff. And he's such a complete human, more than any other. It's like, as far as an artist who is as good as he is, I've never known anyone who could be that good and functional as a human at the same time. Yeah. But he truly is. So he's never shied away from success, but that sort of success is not his motivation.
No,
it's not his driving force.
Definitely not. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Matt says it's Lawrence Henderson that I was trying to remember. Thank you, Matt. That's kind of you. And the drummer was Sam West from the AZ gig in Southampton. Lawrence Henderson and Sam West if you want to check out Lawrence's stuff.
Yes, Todd Roy has also just reminded me. Ariel Posen was at Crossroads as well.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Mad to see one's friends playing at Crossroads. Matt says, I don't work for Graham Russell, just a friend of mine does. And my credit card regularly appears on my credit card, he says.
Very good.
We our cymbals are from Graham Russell drums.
Oh, cool.
I bought them there used.
Well, they're very nice. They're so nice. In fact, didn't Doug go and grab a set of them?
Yeah.
Liked them so much?
Zildjian Dark Customs, I think they're called. I don't know. Watching drummers buy cymbals must be almost as hilarious as watching guitar players buy guitars.
Yeah. We walk into guitar store with a stick and just go and smack all the guitars.
Greg Sack says, I managed to catch Ariel Posen do a hometown gig in Winnipeg on Friday and fresh off to Crossroads to boot. Hope he can do TPS again next time he's out your way. Incredible tones and playing as always. We missed him this time. He sent us a text and it just, I don't know, stuff was happening and we just couldn't quite cross paths, but it would be great to see Ariel again.
Ariel performed one of the most amazing gigs I've ever seen. He's doing all these shows in London and stuff, and sellout gigs and loads of people turning up. And he comes to Swindon, of course. Swindon being Swindon, like a dozen people turned up. You know what he did? He went out, he got every single person to come really close to the stage. And for an hour and a half, he played the most amazing gig. One of the most amazing gigs I've ever seen.
Wow.
And he played it to every person that was there.
So he knew how to work it. Yeah.
But he put on, is like, 12 people have come to see me. I'm going to give them a night they will never forget.
That is...
It was just, it was one of the most inspiring gigs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And the band played beautifully. He played his arse off. And I was stood at the back of the stage, at the back going, he's so invested in this moment and giving these 12 people that turned up an unforgettable experience. I'll never, ever forget that. Just a really beautiful, beautiful moment.
He is great. I remember seeing him one year at NAMM. Two Rock sometimes puts on a party. And of course, it's a pretty guitar slingy party, given that Two Rock put it on. So you've got Josh Smith and Kirk Fletcher and Matt Schofield and a lot of very heavy hitting guitar players who play a lot of notes.
Mm-hmm.
And Ariel came on and with his baritone, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to get involved in that." Yeah. And he just sings a lovely song and plays really laconic, tasteful musical guitar. Not that the others isn't tasteful and musical, by the way. It's just the contrast of the gig.
Yep.
And I thought, chapeau, good sir.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. Yeah, because if you try and out-note Josh Smith, you're going to lose.
Yep. Yeah, painfully.
I don't care who you are. Yeah. Sean Patrick Watkins, hi Sean, he says, happy Monday morning, my wife gifted me a Sir Discovery this week.
Oh.
Nice. Unlock delay. Pretty magical. Any special tricks when using this at the end of the chain? No, just enjoy it.
Yeah. No, it's great at the end of the chain. Funny enough, we were using it recently, and we had that compared to another bunch of things, and Mick was like, oh, I've forgot how good this was, and grabbed it and used it. It's a really awesome sounding programmable analog delay. Yeah, actually designed by Kevin Sir, which is the son of the
Big Sir,
Sir Senior,
John
Big John Sir.
Sorry, Big Sir is a place in America, and it's also a Mac operating system. It's a brilliant thing.
It is.
And sonically, it's just like...
Yeah. No, enjoy that, mate. It's an absolute corker.
Yeah. And congrats getting hold of one, because for a while there, they were pretty hard to get hold of.
Congrats on managing to hold on to a wife who will buy you a Sir Discovery. That's the chapeau, good sir. That's amazing.
Chris Gostabile, I hope I pronounced that right. Chris says, Mick, you've talked about eliminating barriers to entry. Yeah. Re-recording, do you have tips to overcome the barriers of learning a DAW, a digital audio workstation, such as Logic or Cubase or whatever the other ones are? Functions, tech missteps and options are feeling really overwhelming. I get it. So I've been using Logic, Apple Logic, predominantly for, oh my God, I mean, well over 10 years. And 10 years, you know, for actual commercial use. So whether it's gear demos or making commercial video for people or here at TPS. The other day, 2 weeks ago, Stephen Wilson came in with Nico Tsonev, and they've got to play over their own backing tracks. Stephen had prepared the backing tracks for him and Nico to play over. So just put into context for a second who Stephen Wilson is. Stephen Wilson is a globally respected mega artist who is also an unbelievable producer, mixer, and recording professional. I have got to sit there and record him. I have a sort of generally basic working knowledge of Logic, and there's a lot of stuff in Logic I don't know. So I grabbed Nico 5 minutes before the session and I'm like, Nico, how do you do takes? I've never done takes before. All I do is when I get it wrong, I delete it and redo the take. It's one of the most basic functions of using Logic there could possibly be. The point of telling that story is I'm 10 years in and I still don't know. I learned something that day. So the short answer after a long story is use it all the time.
Yeah.
Use it, get it wrong. Don't use it if you've got the most important project to do and it's you and Logic. Just forget that. It's not going to happen. What I would suggest you do, if you have any musician friends, or even non-musician friends for that matter, get them in, let them be the talent, and record them. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Just record them hitting a drum, playing the guitar, speaking, I don't know, playing the flute. Whatever it is they're doing, record them, multi-track record them, maybe program up a little bit of drums, figure out stop, start, how do you monitor, all that really basic functionality. Spend hours doing that using someone else as the talent so you don't have to be in two minds about trying to record yourself, because that will lead to frustration and it will lead to you just putting it down and not picking it up again. And that has been my experience trying to record myself. So I would suggest you do that. Do a lot of it, learn by your mistakes, watch tutorials. Every time you don't know something, there's a YouTube video that explains it.
Yeah, there's about 10.
Yeah, I do that. I do
thing.
that with Illustrator when I'm trying to figure out things, you know, to do design work with, and there's something I just don't know that ought to be easy. Somebody has taken the time to make a YouTube video about explaining how to do it. So as long as you've got the question, and that's really important, how do I do separate takes using Logic? How do I arm a track? How do I set up a new track? And you've just got to start from the beginning, unfortunately, and it does take a long time.
Yeah.
But I will reiterate, if you don't know how to use the software and you try and sit down and do something creative, forget it.
It's really impressive though when you see someone on Logic who's just like all over it. I remember, this is a tangent, right? My first ever experience of that was in home ec class in grade 8, right? And we were making an apple pie or an apple crumble or something, and we had to peel 8 apples. And the guy next to me took out his peeler and went, and he peeled 8 apples in like half a minute. And I'm looking going, it was the most impressive thing at that moment I had ever seen a teenage guy do. And I'm like, how did you do that? And he's like, well, I've just been peeling apples for my mum since I was born.
Yeah.
And it's time spent.
Yeah.
You want to get really good at peeling apples? Peel a ton of apples.
Yeah.
You want to get a good lot, kind of crosses over.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And what the psychological function of your apple peeling mate there is when you first peel an apple, it requires a certain amount of cognitive effort. There's no cognitive effort required in saying this is a peeler, this is an apple. That's automatic, no sweat. But then you have to marry the two things and not cut yourself, and that takes quite a lot of. I'm pointing to the back of my brain like that's where that happens.
It takes a lot of.
takes a lot, and then you're in a situation of cognitive stress, right? And then, so what then happens is, if you're required to then be creative, the level of cognitive stress you're undergoing is too great. There's no way you can be creative under that cognitive stress. Once you do an action time and time again, such as peel an apple, it becomes automatic, and it moves into that bit of your cognition that you no longer have to apply any kind of system 2 brain power to. Sorry for the use of the term system 2. Just means the bit of your brain that consciously thinks about having to do things, if you accept that definition. So it is with logic. There'll come a time where setting up a track, arming a track, naming it, setting the input level will be a system 1 function. You won't have to think about it. It'll be automatic. And there'll be certain things that you start to do that are automatic, reducing the level of cognitive stress in your brain and allowing more RAM, for want of a better word, for you to do other tasks. And unfortunately, unless you have some sort of neurodiversity that enables you to manage 26 things at once, and there are people that are like that, most of us just have to go through the pain of learning repetition, automatic action. Like when you drive a car, you know, something pulls out in front of you, you don't think, oh dear, something's pulled out in front of me, I better hit the brake. You just hit the brake because it's a natural reaction. Unfortunately, some of the processes of doing this stuff have to become natural reactions.
Sure.
Sorry for the lengthy discussion.
No worries.
But I think that's what it is. And it was G. Barge that got me thinking about that, talking about psychological time. Anyway. Jimbo Diddley says, I've had Logic for years and I highly recommend the user manual by David Namani as part of the Apple Pro training series. It's called Logic X Professional Music Production. So Jimbo Diddley's comment in the
Jimbo Diddley is very good.
in the chat, in the regular chat there, will link you to that. And again, I reiterate, as soon as you don't know something, Google it, find someone explaining it on YouTube, and steal all their ideas. That's what I do. Patrick Carroll, fascinating, Mick. Is there a book to read that covers this? Yes, it's called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And by the way, it's just one book. I'm not saying it's the truth. It's just one book that helps. Sometimes you need a framework of explanation for things, and it's a framework that works for me alongside some other frameworks. But I would highly recommend it.
That's nice.
Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Yeah. Right. Where are we? Daniel Thornton has superchied, but I don't think there's a chat. Daniel, I'm really sorry if we've missed you. BV says no question. So sorry if we've missed you, Daniel, but thank you for your generosity. Matt Lawrence. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
D&M and K&R. And we'll add H and R and B.
How do you do that? My grandfather used to do that. It used to freak me out. That's amazing.
So when you have big ears and you get teased a lot as a kid, you have to work out a way to make it funny.
So you can fly out of the moment.
Yeah. Or give them something bigger to aim at. FA Cup. Hello, big ears. Where's Noddy?
Oh, that's funny.
Did you have Noddy and big ears in Australia?
I don't remember specifically. Maybe no. It wasn't big in my house.
No, it'd be like Noddo and
yeah, Big Hero.
Noddo and Big O. Yeah. He says, just a quick message. Matt Lawrence says, just a quick message to say thanks for the experience day last Friday. Oh, it's you, Matt. Hope Rosie's still enjoying her new toy. Cheers, guys. Hope to see you again. She really is. She really, really is.
She loves it.
Yeah. It's kind of you.
Yeah, it was great to see you, bud. Thanks for coming down. It's brilliant fun. Brilliant day.
Actually, I thought it was Mike that brought the Rosie toy. Anyway, whatever. Sorry if I've missed the reference. It was great to see you, Matt, and I think we had a good day, didn't we?
We had a great day.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Jim B. Jim B says, "Hey guys, just wanted to let you know that what you do is really inspiring.
Oh, bless you. Thank you,
You guys are making a difference in the best way." Thank you, Jim.
And happy. There you go.
Do you know what? Nico sent me a text to say thanks for the show on Friday, and I kind of replied the same thing back to him, to say that it's inspiring to be around people who treat their art so seriously.
Yeah.
And there's no bashfulness, there's no kind of, oh, woe is me and all that. It's just, this is what we do and we're serious about it, and it is very inspiring.
Totally.
Very inspiring. So we'll take your compliment, Jim, and amplify it to the people that we get to hang around.
Yeah,
and
thanks, Jim. That's
in order
lovely.
that we can all share this thing that we feel so passionate about. So thank you.
Yeah.
Chris Norman. Chris says, "Howdy all, new guitar day. Brand new Epiphone Classic SG with P90s.
Oh, lovely.
Beautiful tone is everything I've dreamed of. Cheers for the continued inspiration."
Oh, bless you, mate. That's lovely.
Bonamassa had a new Epiphone SG this week, didn't he? I think
Did he?
A custom 3 pickup.
Gets have a plain note.
I strapped this on, Danny. Actually, a few people did say Stephen Wilson sounded a bit like Nigel Tufnell, and I did think that while I was doing the editing. Sorry, Stephen. He is obsessed with Spinal Tap, by the way.
Yeah, Stephen is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
totally. Him and Mike Van Aert have an ongoing thing.
Secret.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, not now. Yeah. So there you go.
Or they might do.
They might do.
Yeah, and it might not even be Mike Van Aert.
It might be someone else.
Yeah. So, another mic came to mind there, but you can't say it on the radio. Joe Halliday from Hello UAFX. Hello, Joe. You always manage to sneak in, Joe, and thank you.
Oh, that's funny.
He says, "Another fantastic show on Friday," says Joe. "After the Victory debacle, can we have a show on Victory amps? I love my DP40 and I'm considering a copper too." I think that would be an appropriate response, wouldn't it? Debacle is such a great word. We should play art. We've got plenty of Victory amps kicking around.
That's a great shout, actually.
And it would be good. Would be good to do more stuff. The copper's really interesting.
It is.
It's really interesting.
The copper does that thing where, similar to the Matchless, where there's always a bit of hair on it.
Yeah.
And you dig in, it's like,
but with loads more gain.
With loads more gain.
And there's a sweet spot in there for sure.
Mm.
Maybe we should do that. We should do that. As you all know from coming to an experience day, Joe, and what we talked about quite a bit on Friday was that whole thing of the experience being here in the room is really very different from what we can manage to record. And that's not just us, that's anybody.
Yeah.
It is a visceral, physical experience compared to what can be recorded and reproduced. I mean, if you want to listen to it at 108 dB on some really nice monitors, it might get you a bit closer, I guess. But actually, Robert he wanted to hear the TS1 right at the end of the day. We've been playing the classic reverb all day, pretty loud, and he's like cranked the TS1. I'm like, whoa, yeah. And then we had it wet, dry, wet, and it's like flipping heck. That really is loud. Actually, speaking of loud, we had a visit from Tom Trones.
Tom Trones.
Yeah, sorry, it sounds like trombone to me, but Tom Trones, who's from Minuendo. I mean, it sounds like a flipping shameless plug, but it's not. Dan and I, thanks to another TPS Experience Day visitor called Howard came in and he had these Minuendo adjustable plugs. So we got some, and we really like them. During which we managed to meet Tom at NAMM, or I managed to meet Tom at NAMM, and he came in and we're having a grown-up conversation about hearing, and about hearing loss, and about hearing protection. Mm-hmm. So it won't go out as a Friday show because it is a little bit dry for a Friday show, but we'll put it out as a podcast and we'll put it out as a Tuesday show, and it's enlightening.
Yeah,
a really good shout. Tom's an audio engineer. His wife works with people suffering with hearing loss, so he has good experience of the sector, and of course he makes nice earplugs. So yeah,
it was brilliant conversation.
Yeah. I can't use them live. I still can't use them live, except when I'm singing.
Okay.
I can have one in.
Everyone do the thing with the one
the
thing.
folk singer thing.
Yeah.
What did he call it? Coupling. Anyway, but for experience days and extended periods of noise, they work really well.
Lovely.
So yeah, that'll be coming up soon enough.
Rowan Rainbows is popping in from Canberra, Australia. He says, "Hi, love TPS. G'day, mate. Thanks for joining us." What time is it in Oz? Let's see.
A. Stewart says, I showed Spinal Tap to my kids for the first time last night. They loved it. Parenting correctly.
I showed Spinal Tap to my kids. They thought I was high.
Yeah. Catherine did when I made her watch it.
But we showed it with beer just before lockdown. And I was in floods of tears, just laughing so hard, and Rabia thought I was definitely something wrong with me.
Todd Roy says, I've just signed up as a patron. Should have done this a long time ago. Makes Mondays worth not sleeping through. Thank you, says Todd. Thanks, Todd. That's kind of you. Patron actually has become a very useful bit of cash to help fund the show.
Yeah. Just if anyone's interested, what we do for patrons, hi to our patrons, we put out a podcast for patrons of the VCQs, and we also have monthly giveaways for patrons. So, we'll find something and put it in a barrel of things and throw it out to
a barrel of things.
The balls.
I see. No, it's a computer program that randomly picks winners. Yeah,
but we've had some really, and we've had a few absolute crackers.
Patron prizes.
Yeah.
We hopefully they'll get better and better and better as well as we get more used to giving stuff away.
And little behind the scenes things as well for our patrons as well, which is really fun. Yeah, so there you go.
David Burke says, my band changed rehearsal rooms recently. After the first session, I had real issues for a few days due to the cymbals. Dug out some old custom fit plugs I had. Big difference. Really important stuff. Yeah, we get into talking about quite a lot of that stuff in the video. And Tom and Minuendo have this kind of general response that it's not about fear. It's not like protect your ears, otherwise you'll lose your hearing. It's more like, okay, what do you need to understand about this? Where is it dangerous? Where is it less dangerous? What are safe limits? What are some of the things you can do to still enjoy the music, but also protect your hearing over a long period of time? What are physiological differences between different people, etc., etc., etc. So it's just a more grown-up conversation than use plugs or you'll lose your hearing. Yeah, which is too boring and predictable. Chris Liddell says, Mick, can I ask, are those new contact lenses very focal ones? If so, how did you find the adjustment to them? Yeah, okay, briefly then, Chris, and anyone else. Problem I have is my distance vision is good, my close vision is bad, and I can't really see my screen very well. So I have glasses that are optimized for my screen, which means I'm always off and on with them, which is really annoying for people watching videos. But
you have developed a unique skill where you can have them on your forehead and go doink and pop them on your nose, which I love. And Jack Nicholson did it in As Good As It Gets.
Yeah.
He's sat in the back of the car. He does exactly the same thing.
Here's Mickey. He learned everything he knows from me. And anyway, so at my last eye appointment, the optician said, why don't you try contact lenses? I was like, are you on drugs? I don't want to spoil. And he said, no, it doesn't work that way. Apparently they're radially, concentrically very focal, and something to do with, I don't know, clever stuff and brains and that. Anyway, so the first lot I had were great. They worked. I could see up close. I saw Google Calendar on my phone. God help me. For the first time in years. I could see distance fine. Everything was fine, except I couldn't see my blooming screen. So I went back, explained the problem. They redid the prescription, put new ones in on Saturday. They're pretty good. I mean, I can see this here, not so much. Here, really nice. And my distance isn't compromised enough to worry.
Right.
The adjustment, they say, takes 2 weeks. So you do a couple of hours the first day and then increase the time you have them in, and then apparently your brain adjusts. Mine didn't adjust to the first set.
How long can you leave them in for?
Well, theoretically, for as long as you're awake.
But you don't sleep in them?
No.
Okay.
Don't sleep in them, don't get them wet. I'm not a contact lens expert, that's as much as I know. So hopefully it'll work. They seem to be working all right today. I think I can detect a slight haze all the time. So there's
Purple?
slightly less contrast of black, definitely, especially with lights, because I guess there's a reflection.
Fading to black.
But I can see my screen. It's convenient. I don't want to wear them every day, but certainly to stop the glasses coming on and off, it's great. So then it's about cost. Can you wear them regularly enough to justify the cost? We'll see. We'll see. See how I get on. Today's my second day of this prescription, so
Okay.
yeah. Hopefully there are some optometrists or opticians. I don't know what the correct word is.
Moon's on fire today. He says, do you have blurry dreams when you take them out to sleep?
Oi, doctor. Yeah. Oh, God. I'd have the surgery if it would work, and B, if I could afford it.
Right. Did they say surgery wouldn't work for you?
I haven't asked the question.
Oh, okay.
Because Teens had it, right?
Teens had it.
Dan's
Great.
wife's had it, yeah. Symbols in a small reflective room can be dangerous, says Felix Threadgill. Yeah. Yeah. I've never been able to really take loud, says Mr. Wit30. Over 100 dB and it starts to get painful. Again, we talk about that in the video a little bit. There's some different conditions. You know, you go to the GP and the GP says, yeah, you've got tinnitus, can't be cured. Not always the case, apparently. Apparently there's other types of damage and hearing issues that require a specialist to, a bit like everything with GPs. Yeah, drink some water, take these, you'll be fine in 3 days.
Yeah.
Or you could go and see this person who really does know their specialism, like physiotherapy and other stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry to GPs. Yeah.
At the Doc Holiday says, have you guys had any plans to experiment with the UAFX stuff with the apps? So UAFX have released other versions of their pedals, like
Little ones.
Yeah, the little ones, which is interesting. We use so UA. If anyone doesn't know, Universal Audio. They do amazing recording stuff. We use their interface. We plug a mics into, and that goes into the Logic. And they brought out pedals such as these, using the technology that they do with the studio stuff. Yeah, these are the first ones. Actually, the Dell Verb came later.
Yeah, sorry, these were the first
That's
ones.
the first ones, yeah.
These were the second ones.
There you go.
And then they've done some that are single stomp.
Yeah.
Small, haven't they?
But they use that same technology when they're creating plugins, and the stuff sounds amazing. You used the Dell Verb on a gig recently, didn't you?
Yeah. So in the aforementioned pedal board that I used for the Ainsley gigs, on the first two I used the Dell Verb. Didn't like it in the first instance playing it in here because it's constantly buffered, so you get that. Actually, live, I'm super happy with that because you get the extra treble, which is good. It's not treble, it's higher than that. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. And I love the sound of the Halo, but I found it so impossible to use. I tried to read the manual, still wasn't really going in. That, no manual required. I just bend down and turn the reverb up and down as I need it and tap tempo the delay. Really happy with that, actually.
Nice.
I would happily use that.
Awesome.
Yeah, really good. Single ones, it'd be good to hear them. I'm definitely on a I hate digital kick again at the moment.
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. hate's too strong a word, but yeah, definitely on an analog. The sound of good analog stuff loud is just
Very special.
no effort required.
Yeah.
Just no effort required on the part of the listener or the performer. It's human. It's not simulated.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, someone's using a nice analog delay, someone's using a del verb. Could you sit there and go, that's definitely the del verb? I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it in a kind of night and day comparison. I mean it as a sort of culmination of years and years and years of using this stuff going, I just want to use that.
Yeah.
At this point.
Look, we have it all the time, right? Whenever we're doing a show with a tape delay thing and we plug in the space echo, and Mick can tell the difference from outside the room, and he's like, that one.
Yeah, we were doing it the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, it was really funny.
I wouldn't commit to doing it on camera, but I can do it every time when Dan's switching stuff and I'm in there messing about.
That one sounds good. Yes, that's the real one.
Definitely not that one.
A Camp says, quick Dan, play an altered chord. Let's try. There you go.
Nice.
It's A altered. Flat 13 for anyone that's interested.
I liked it. Jason Phillips says, have you ever had what some might call a spiritual experience while playing and or listening to music, something that has helped you form your bond with the language of music?
Oh, yeah. Find it, like,
frequently.
The first one I can remember when I was very young, listening, and my auntie had War of the Worlds playing, and I was playing with my cousin. We used to stay at their house all the time, and my little sister and I and the two cousins running around like feral children. And she had that going on in the lounge room, and I just stopped and sat in front of the speakers going, I could hear these things that sounded like voices, but they were instruments. And it was just, and I'll never forget that. I consider myself very fortunate that music moves me emotionally. I think it's a really great gift. As someone, when Andy Timmons was in here, for example, and it was really interesting about it. I called Andy the other day. We had a catch up.
How's he doing?
He's so beautiful. I love that guy. I miss him to bits. He's doing good. He's going to come over at some point next year, so we'll do something. But one thing to remember with that, so we'd been doing a bunch of gigs with Andy, and that was the last opportunity that we had to film with him. We were all tired, and I get a bit emotional when I'm tired, like loads of people. When Andy plays, it's always captivating. When you're in a room with him like this, and he's playing at 160 dB, you're no longer actively listening. You are simply part of the moment with Andy, and Andy can take you wherever he wants to take you.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. And when he played that thing, and it was off the cuff, he didn't plan to play it. It just sort of came out in the moment.
Yeah.
And then he felt the emotional response, and he kept going with it because he could tell it was going somewhere. And I think that if you're a person that is music moves you, and I'm sure it's the reason that we're all here, because at some point in our lives, guitar and that has moved us to a point. It's like where we felt connected, and it really is. I've considered it a massive privilege that music does that, and to have experienced that. It does happen a lot.
Yeah, I will refrain from a lengthy explanation of psychological time and conscious presence. But those spiritual moments that you call a spiritual moment is exactly that. You are in a state of conscious presence. The Buddhists call it satori. You might hear it referred to as a moment of clarity. Different religions have different names for it, but I think spiritual experience is probably a good umbrella term which would encompass any kind of faith-based and non-faith-based. But it's the same thing. You're not actively engaged in any thought. Your brain isn't trying to work out some problem. You are simply in a state of timeless, infinity.
Yeah.
There's no time. There's no conscious thinking going on. You are simply experiencing, and that, I would say, that's what that is.
Yeah.
What that spiritual moment is, and sometimes you might have one when you're driving along in the car, or it might be, I don't know, it could be, doesn't matter where it happens, and they're precious things.
They are very precious. Someone has just mentioned that they had a similar experience at Sun-O. Where did this?
Yeah, Henning Hesse.
So, what I find really interesting about that, when we had Mike Venart in, and the sound of those amps turned up loud, and you'll all know this, right? You get into a place where you're no longer actively listening. You don't have to. It's like you're just it's moving you to a point where you're not going, that doesn't sound like the power valve on the second stage is working quite right. None of that stuff matters at all. You're just in the moment. And I think a lot of those bands like Sun-O, like Slow Dive, like those shoegazy bands that used volume to know. So no matter where you were, you walk into the venue, and everyone's coming in from different experiences. They're all at different places in life, but as soon as the sound pressure level hits you, everyone's experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's sort of, it's going through you, and then everyone's like sort of brought into that moment together.
Controlled by the Borg.
There you go. But you hear, I don't know, I think Sun-O is a good thing. I went and saw Russian Circles, and they were similar, but that's that genre of music where you can just sit there and just be absolutely pounded into submission.
Yeah.
And when you walk out, everyone's had the same experience. And
I think that's
beautiful.
That's one version of it, but it doesn't have to be music. So quite often people who don't get music or don't get guitar are like, what do you get in it? I say, well, what do you do? And they might say, I don't know, I ski, or I rock climb, or drive fast cars, or play golf. Actually, golf's a terrible example, because most of the time, most people I know who play golf just spend the whole time hating themselves. But sometimes you will click and you'll hit a good shot. And anyway, but more commonly, things like rock climbing, things like water skiing down a mountain. In order to do anything like that successfully, you have to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you fall over. And there comes a point, there comes a flow, and it's in certain disciplines of psychology, the term is flow, and it's where that flow is happening, and it might be when tasting or cooking food. It's doing anything with full conscious presence of application, and it's flowing. It's not an effort, and I think that's what it is,
Totally.
And that's what you experience.
Yeah.
Both listening and playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's very lucky if you get there. It's the best.
It is.
Yeah.
And often when we talk about being connected, and I often say that the only time that anything really happens for me on guitar is when I feel connected. And when I do feel connected, there's a small chance of something actually happening, because what's actually happening in that moment where I feel connected, stuff is happening. Whatever's happening, that moment actually leads to places that I wouldn't normally think of. I play stuff that I haven't practiced. It's just that stuff has the potential to come out. And I mean, there's a bunch of people saying this is the reason I play guitar. It's, someone was saying they've had experiences that, playing live, and when you get into that experience where you just feel connected, and that you get that thing where time sort of stands still, it really is amazing.
Yeah, that's why we do it.
Indeed.
That's why we do it. Tom Trones is on.
Hey, Tom.
He says, hey guys, it was great to hang out last week. It really was, Tom. He's the Minuendo guy, by the way. Hearing guy. Yeah.
Sorry, Dwayne Jessamine said, so when you're playing, do you feel like a preserved moose?
Ron Leslie says, yeah, it's just called having a moment. Sometimes events conspire to cushion you from reality and time, not necessarily limited to the world of music.
Totally.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Yeah. Although it does go a bit further than that, because once you get into certain ways of thinking, for example, my old mate Eckhart Tolle, of whom I am a huge fan,
Ding.
his view of things is that you can actually spend the majority of your time in that state of flow and conscious presence, and it's not like a trance-like state. It's not like being tripped out or drugged or drunk. It's actually being
It's clarity.
as alert,
Yeah.
clarity, clear decision making as you'll ever be, and that's can't say the goal because you don't have goals in that way of thinking, but that's the state of mind that results. I'm a fan.
Yeah, totally.
Tom Trone's in the chat, says BV. Thank you, BV. Good. Top golfers play in a flow state when playing at their best. Yeah, absolutely, BV. I think it's true of sports, all sport. Yeah.
Yeah. Benjamin Murphy says, playing music with other people in front of other people is just about the realest sort of magic I can think of. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it is the closest thing. Music is the closest thing to magic that we have.
Yeah.
Totally. It's truly wonderful.
I don't know if I should read this out, but I'm going to anyway. David Matai says, hey Mick and Dan, why are so many players currently using modelers like Kemper or Axe-Fx instead of playing normal tube amps? I don't know if you're new, David. If you are, then Dan and I have spoken a lot about this over the years. We genuinely don't know either, other than cost. Cost is now the only reason I can think of.
Yeah, convenience.
Same thing.
Yeah, okay. Same thing. Fair enough. Yeah.
There must be people who actually like it, genuinely prefer it. I've yet to meet one, but there must be people who genuinely prefer it.
Yeah.
Everyone I know who uses one says, well, yeah, of course I'd use that if I could, but I can't because it's too loud, too heavy.
Not appropriate.
The tour
blah, blah,
company
blah.
won't pay for it. The artist won't pay for it. I don't have a big enough car. I still haven't met a single person who says they prefer the sound of it over the professional player. Still haven't heard a single professional player who says they prefer the sound of it.
Yeah.
And I still haven't heard a single sound in recorded music anywhere ever that I prefer
Sure.
than the traditional way of doing things.
Yeah.
So that's my case.
Yeah.
It's just so boring.
It is.
Sorry.
Loads of people use them and loads of people love them, and that's great. And there are channels out there that show people how they get the most out of them. It's great. Mick's got a 2-rock, I've got a DC-30, and we turn those up, and it's like we don't.
Give me
that's
deluxe
it.
reverb.
That's it. Just you know what?
Hot Rod Deluxe.
A new
A Hot
AC-15.
Rod Deluxe.
A new AC-15. I was thinking about this the other day. If I could take that amp and just put a microphone, turn the reverb up in it, put it in front of anything, and just like be so happy. It's just such a, and it's not expensive.
Yeah.
It's all great, but for us, it's like that stuff is only ever trying to be what the real thing is, and
Yeah, it's a simulation.
it's exactly, and it's like, yeah, that's fine. I just like
Dustin Thiessen, Glenn Michael Thompson coming in with the sort of short story of which is, it is convenient. What about fly dates where the back line's bad?
absolutely.
And Glenn Michael Thompson is saying, yeah, well, I can't even afford to take a full band anymore because nobody gets paid. Well, that's exactly what I said earlier. It's all about cost and convenience.
Yeah.
And don't conflate the two issues, right? One of the things the brain does is it substitutes an easier question. So
That's so yeah.
the question is, does this sound better than this? And then that question becomes, is this easier? And you conflate the answers to those two questions into one answer. It's like, better, worse is up to you. It's purely subjective. But if you ask me those questions, does this sound better than this? Not in 100,000 million years. Is it easier? Yeah, it's miles easier. Of course it is, but it's not the same flipping question. And that's what we do. You know, we're conditioned to simplify and ask a simpler question that's not so much hard work because it costs us less and it's more convenient. And for sure, professional musicians, touring bands, there's a budget to be considered. There's the reality of all of that. Me and him are just not in it for that.
Yeah.
We're long past that. We're in it for what is the absolute best, least compromised route to this thing that we love so much.
Yeah.
And for that, the answer is very simple.
Yeah.
Sorry to be soapboxy about it, but I keep seeing it. I keep going to gigs. I keep hearing modelers, and I keep asking myself the same question: why does anyone do this?
Sure.
Sorry. Actually, not sorry. It's just a fact.
Yeah. So for me, as long as my drummer is willing to lug a drum kit to rehearsals and to gigs, I will be taking amps. And actually, if he decides to bring some garbage bags on sticks and slap them, I will still be taking amplifiers.
Well spotted, Scott from Baltimore. Says it's a Thinking Fast and Slow reference.
Yeah.
But a well-observed psychological fact.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You're talking about Doug.
Yeah, no, just saying that he's happy to lug a drum kit and take so long setting them up and making sure they're tuned right, just so that he can have the enjoyment of, hanging out and playing. It's like, yeah.
Completely.
It's not that big a deal. If you've got to have a completely silent stage, then there are other ways to do it. But if there's sound on stage, I've seen people, they'll have a setup, and it's like, yeah, but to actually get any sense of sound on stage, I've got to have this powered monitor at 600 watts. Like, just get an amp. That BV
is making the point that with stadium bands, that sometimes it can make more sense because of the consistency and the reality of that. But yeah, I mean, maybe once you're talking about stadium bands, that's 0.00001% of bands, isn't it?
Never heard a stadium band sound bad with normal amps. I remember, so I was backstage with Phil X. Bon Jovi were playing at Wembley.
Basil Tiffany, I was very specific in saying it was subjective opinion. I was very specific about that. He's saying the modeler judgment is subjective, but he talks about his opinion as if it's objective. I was very specific that it's a subjective opinion.
There you go.
Very specific.
But I remember being back at the stage with Phil X, and he was showing me some guitars and stuff. And the support band came on. Who's that band that had the song Australia? Welsh band.
Manic Street Preachers.
Manic Street Preachers came on. And I've never been a massive fan. I've heard a few of the things, but oh my word, the guitar sound was just unbelievable.
Yeah. I've stood in front of too many amps with too many great players, experiencing a great thing to... Yeah, you can't get better than that. Yeah. So, and there's nothing... Whatever gets you playing is great. But for us, we feel very blessed to be able to come in here and turn these amps up and have at it. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. Most people on YouTube simply don't have the opportunity to do that. They're Can't do it.
Filming from homes and stuff, and if they turn an amp up, they get chucked out. So we're really fortunate that we can do this.
Yeah, and it's our choice, isn't it? Because it's what inspires us. And I would never argue with anyone that says this is the thing I like the most, and this enables me to get my voice out in the way that I want it to come out. No matter what was in the signal chain, it'd be like, great.
Yeah.
That if if that's what's enabling you to do that, then that's what you should be using.
Totally.
Don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But I've yet to meet anyone who says that
Sure.
about that gear.
Sure.
So, yeah. Anyway, we'll finish with Mike, Doctor, who has really genuinely the last sensible word on the whole thing.
Okay.
So we thank you, Mike, and we'll bid you good night. Dan will play us out. Mike says, Jimi Hendrix played a Helix. If it's good enough for Jimmy, it's good enough for me.
Very good.
Chapeau, sir. Chapeau. Okay. We'll see you Friday. John W777. Yeah, we know, mate. That's our experience too, and it is truly sad. I'd be interested to know what you think as a tech. Good. We'll see you Friday. It's a good old-fashioned show about guitar pedals and comparing stuff. I know. Ross Chevalier, if you're watching, it's for you, buddy. Thank you for your email. Right. Cheerio. I've got a new box of naked wine to open, Dan, so...
Oh, nice.
I wasn't going to have a glass of wine tonight, but I think I might. There's a half-decent Pinot Noir in there, I think.
I've got a lovely bottle of wine from Steinhardt in Germany.
Ah, yes, you have.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Philip Starclough, who came to visit us, brought us down a bottle of wine from Steinhardt.
It's
back before they all got deported to Australia.
It's a bit salty.
See you soon, folks. Thanks for being with us. I was in time.
I'm just leaving some space, baby.